Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Glory Man United podcast. I'm your host, as always, Kyle Quinn. And joining me tonight is Jerry from Cork Reds. How's it going, Jerry?
Yeah, not too bad, Kyle. Thanks. Bit relieved after getting the late point last night, but yeah, it wasn't the best performance, but at least we got something out of the game. How are you keeping?
Yeah, I felt a lot worse after a performance like that. And it's always great when you score a late equaliser as opposed to conceding one. So it almost feels like a win, which is quite strange. But um, United were quite poor last night, as you said. I think they really struggled to break West Ham down, and West Ham were always a danger on the counter attack with Somerville and Jared Bowen. And I anticipated this was going to be a difficult game on a new test for Carrick. Probably the first game where he's come up against a low block with 11 men. And it was going to be interesting to see how United would get on. They nearly failed that test, only for the spectacular late equaliser for Benjamin Sesko. And I'm going to stick to the positives first, and that's what I'm going to talk about is Sesko's equaliser. It was actually a very poor cross from Mbemo, and Sesko needed one touch to put it in the net. That's how good it was. It was absolutely
Hmm.
exquisite. And a United fan that I was watching the game with, who's 67, compared it to Dennis Law, which is lofty praise indeed. So what did you make of it, Jerry?
Oh, it was a fantastic strike. Like you said, it wasn't the best of crosses by Mbumo. Once it left his foot, I was thinking it's quite flat and quite low, because you want to be whipping it in and getting your head on it and getting it around head height. But Seshko kind of made it into a chance and just clinical. What a strike! It was really kind of almost Zlatan Ibrahimovic esque in the way he took it. He kind of had to improvise and flick the ankle a little bit. And how it ended up in the net, I don't know, but it was great technique, and it just shows the potential that Seshko has got. That's why we paid the money, and I think we've got a hell of a talent on our hands. Now he's young, he's still learning and developing. It's his first season in English football. So it's going to take him a while to kind of get to the levels that we need him to be to lead the line as a world class number 9. But I think he can get there. He's got all the raw materials and the tools to get to the top. I think he just needs to fill out a little bit more and get a little bit more nasty, maybe. But great goal. Delighted. It's a good point in the end.
Yeah, it was the only thing that he could do, really, with a cross like that. He had to improvise, and it was an unbelievable goal. And I'll never get bored of watching it. And he spared our blushes. We came so close to losing that game. And we did have the ball in the net previous to that with Casemiro, and it was another one of those millimeter offside calls, of which there was another one in the Spurs Newcastle game. I'm getting a bit tired of that
Mm-hmm.
now. You know, fingernails being offside and goals being cancelled because of that, and it takes 5 minutes to come to the decision. And and to me, it's taken the joy out of football as a fan, because every time there's a chance that it could be offside, you don't celebrate, and by the time the goal's given, the moment's gone. So
Yeah.
to me, I think they need to make a change to the offside rule. What happened to to the in the Fulham Liverpool game? Florian Wirtz, a goal was allowed to stand,
Yeah.
and the reason given by the referees association was that there was a 5 centimeter tolerance level. But I haven't seen that since. So to me, they were just making something else up again. And yeah, to me, they're finding any reason to disallow goals now. The game is about scoring goals; it's about entertainment, and we're seeing goals being chalked off when somebody's kneel is offside. It's just absolutely ridiculous, and something he's done urgently about this, Jerry.
Yeah, it's a real source of frustration, really, isn't it? Like you said, it's kind of taken the joy out of celebrating goals, and then that's the essence of football for me, is going absolutely crazy when your team score a big goal. And that Casemiro header last night would have been a huge equaliser. I think it was around the 65th minute mark, so it would have given us loads of time to go and find a winner. Um, there was nothing in it for me. Like, that's a level. I think that's a level, and I know it's by the letter of the law and VAR to give it its correct title. They say he's just offside, and I suppose, like, if I was an opposition fan and that was scored against me, I'd hold my hands up and say, look, it's tight, and give them the benefit of the doubt. Um, I think goals like that being disallowed is just sucking the joy out of the game. And like you say, hopefully someone will come to their senses and try and change the rule, or like give strikers the benefit, or give the attacking player the benefit going forward, because that was the way it was back in the 2000s. Remember, the attacker was kind of usually given the benefit of the doubt. So I'd like to see it maybe go that way rather than looking for any opportunity to disallow goals, because it's getting tiresome at this stage.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. And everybody's been affected by this, not just us. So
Mm-hmm.
there needs to be major changes in the near future, and hopefully they come to a sensible agreement in the summer on this rule to stop disallowing perfectly good goals. My frustration started with the Garnacho goal that was disallowed at the Emirates, and to me, nobody's going to tell me that was offside. Um, and
Yeah,
every team has experienced it since then. So there definitely needs to be a change to the rule. Um,
and I think that's been
so
five disallowed. Sorry, that's been five disallowed goals under Carrick so far, and we had two against Tottenham. Um, we'd won last night, and I think there was another couple in another game. I can't remember.
Man City, there was three in Man City
Yeah,
game. Yeah,
yeah, that's it. Man City. Yeah, so it's a lot of goals to be having disallowed, and it's just taking the fun out of celebrating, isn't it?
yeah. The Mason Mount goal against City. I mean, there's no way that was offside either. That's just absolutely
No,
absurd.
absolutely.
So to me, United's best performers last night were the substitutes. Lenny Yaro, Lenny Yaro was crucial in keeping the game at 1-0. He
Hmm.
made a couple of late interventions when West Ham had counterattacks. I think it was a sensible substitution by Carrick when he's making attacking subs. He brought on Sesko, and then he brought on Xerxes and took off Dallo, which is a substitution you would never see under Amarim, taking off a fullback and bringing on a forward. That's something that
Yes.
Fergie would have done back in the day, and I was glad to see that. Albeit I would have done it much earlier. But it was
Hmm.
sensible bringing on Lenny Yeo from Maguire, although he might have had a hamstring injury. But with us throwing bodies forward, West Ham are going to get chances on the counter, and you're going to need pace at the back to deal with that. And Lanier was the perfect choice. And I think that would have done wonders for Lanier's confidence last night, making those late tackles, because we know over Christmas he had been struggling for confidence, and what he did last night was he helped United to get the result. So hopefully this is the start of Lanier getting back to his best, Jerry.
Definitely. It was good to see him come in and have an impact, and kind of showed his attributes, really, because we know he's good in defending wide open spaces, using that pace and that long legs of his, to try and get a nick on the ball. And those two blocks were vital in keeping us in the game. Um, Now, he was enduring a bit of a sticky patch there around Christmas time. Remember at Villa Park, where he was kind of at fault for both of Morgan Rogers' goals and being really slow to kind of come across and close him down. But he was the opposite last night, so maybe a little bit of time out of the team might have helped him, just to regain his confidence. And I don't know about you, but he looked visibly kind of stronger and more bulked up as well, last night from when we previously saw him a month or two ago. I think there's a couple of players like that. Kobe Maino as well looks visibly stronger. So they've probably been in the gym there with the last number of months. Mainu had ample time to build himself up because he wasn't in the team under Amarim with the last 12 months. So yeah, it's good to see. It's good to see players stronger and more confident.
Yep. Joshua Xerxes as well. As always, his link-up play was superb, and he nearly scored an equaliser himself.
Yeah.
Um, that from that header from Bruno's cross, he just got the slightest of touches on it. It was a glancing header, and it looked like it was going to whistle in the far post, but it just
Yeah.
went wide, unfortunately. And I thought
Poor,
that was
poor.
our last opportunity gone.
Hmm. Yeah.
Mm, but he certainly had an impact, didn't he?
He did. No, it kind of took him a few minutes to get into the game. I thought one or two touches were a bit kind of loose and a little bit sloppy, but Xerxes is the type of player he kind of he takes his time to get into it. But once he kind of gets a couple of passes together, he's okay. And he definitely caused a little bit of hassle for West Ham, and not only had Sesko to deal with, but they also had Xerxes. So more bodies in the box made more of a difference. And like yourself, it was probably a change that we should have done maybe half an hour earlier. Um, I thought the lads were a little bit deep last night in Bumo and Ahmed and Cunha. They weren't their usual selves buzzing around the penalty area because I suppose West Ham were so tight at the back they didn't allow them that much space and time on the ball, so they kind of had to come deep and collect it a bit. So it was a little bit good, a little bit better when we had Xerxes and Seshko up there. Kind of caused them a few more problems and might be a little bit of a template to follow if we ever encounter a low block again, which we know they will. Maybe at Everton in a couple of weeks' time, they kind of play in a similar fashion under David Moyes. Sorry, Kyle. I'm struggling to hear you there. I'd say your mic might be gone off. Sorry.
Hopefully, I'm unmuted now.
Yes, I can hear you now, loud and
Can you hear
clear.
me?
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I was just saying that it could be an option at Everton to play Sesko up front. That's what I would do. And
yeah.
maybe even Xerxes as well. There's no reason why not. But we'll see what happens. So another excellent performance last night was Lemans again, Mr. Dependable. Made a crucial save right at the start of the match from Somerville, I think it was. And he saved the one-on-one. It might have been Callum Wilson, but I think it was given offside anyway.
Yeah,
And then he played this keeper role in the second half as well. It looked like one of the West Ham forwards was clean through, but he anticipated it and he came off his line early and he dealt with it. So it was another excellent performance from our number one goalkeeper.
it was, and like you say, he's been really dependable so far. Minimal fuss and very little errors. Whereas I always go back to when Onana was in goal, and I'm a little bit scared from that time, I'd say, because he was making mistakes every other week. No, obviously he could go 2 or 3 weeks fairly consistent, but then out of nowhere he'd drop a clanger, and it seems to kind of affect Onana where he'd make 2 or 3 mistakes in a row, and cost us games. I always go back to that Europa League final against Tottenham when that ball rolled into the net. I mean, myself or you, Kyle, would have probably saved that goal. I don't know what Onana was doing there, but that's beside the point now. We look to have a really good, promising young keeper in Senna Lamans. Deals with everything that's thrown at him, makes good stops. Like you said, he comes off his line as well. He's really quick off his line. And the best aspect of his game is he's really calm and composed, which I like in a goalkeeper. It gives me kind of Edwin van der Sar vibes. You need that kind of composure behind the defence to kind of orchestrate things. So I don't want to jinx it, but it does look like we have a really solid young goalkeeper with great potential. So long may it continue.
Yeah, and there was a corner that came in last night, and he just nonchalantly just punched it away with one hand
Yeah.
with such confidence. Um, and that's the type of player that he is. He's just so cool and calm and collected, and playing for United just doesn't phase him. He's like he was made for this level.
Hmm.
And as you've said, he made it. He's been beaten from distance from a few shots, free kicks, and so on. And you might say a, a player of his height should be doing better in those situations. But there's been really calamitous errors. None, not
Mhm.
one. Not one occasion has he spilt the ball and it's ended up in the back of the net. He just, it has to be a really good shot to beat him.
Yes,
Like, there's no glaring errors. There's not one single error that he's made that's led to a goal. Um,
he deserves
because he hasn't.
massive credit for that as well, doesn't he? Because he's a young lad. We kind of forget that he's only 23. And I sometimes see a bit of discourse online on Twitter and places saying, "Oh, maybe he's not up to it, or should be doing better." But like, you have to remember, he's 23 years of age, coming from the Belgian Pro League, where he was playing with Royal Antwerp. I mean, that's a massive, massive jump to come to playing for Manchester United in the Premiership. Huge, and he deserves massive credit. And like I said, long may it continue, because he's really changed our season. If you go back to August, when we were choppy and changing between Altai Bayindir and Andre Onana, to now, it's worlds apart. And I would have a concern if he did pick up an injury or suspension. I mean, you'd be back to Bayindir in goals again, so you'd be back to square one for a while.
Please don't say that. Yeah, because we have no decent backups whatsoever in that department. Um, yeah,
Tom Heaton,
yeah, that's what I would do, but he never gets a chance really. He's played
never
about 3 games in 5 years. But
pre-season games.
yeah, postseason games. um, yeah, David De Gea was younger when he came to United. I think he was 20 and Lamens is like 23. But De Gea had a lot more experience. He was playing in La Liga for Atletico Madrid, and he made a few mistakes at the start and took him a while to get used to the Premier League. Lamens is playing like he's been playing in the Premier League for 10 years.
Hmm.
Um, like, he's had so far, I know we're only in February, but so far he's had a better first season than even De Gea had in his first season. And that's
Yeah,
well beyond our expectations. So long may it continue. The maturity of the guy, even when you hear him in interviews, he's like a
yeah.
60-year-old man. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah, it's credit to him. Real big credit to him, and hopefully he continues in that vein.
Yeah, he's been a breath of fresh air. So I have to mention Martinez. Another wee bit of skill, where he showed his press resistance. Any other player would have been in trouble in that situation, where they've been given a pass by the goalkeeper and they're being pressed by Jared Bowen, and you're wincing even looking at it, and he just backheels his way out of trouble and makes a complete agent out of Jared Bowen. How many times have we seen Martinez do that? Um, you know, he's like he's a defender, but really the skill set that he has, he could easily be a midfielder. I remember seeing a video of him during training at Ajax, and he tells the cameraman, "I can score direct from the corner," and that's exactly what he did.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
you've probably seen that yourself.
I've seen that
So
clip as well. Yeah, yeah. It's brilliant. Great finish, wasn't it? Just shows the skill that he's got.
he's kind of almost underutilized as a defender, but so glad to have him in the team nonetheless.
Definitely, and it's important, I think, to play him there, because it's a real outlet for us to get the ball out from the back. Without him in the team, you really notice it. We really struggle to kind of bring the ball forward from the back line. So yeah, I'd sooner have him in defence than in midfield. But yeah, it's a lovely bit of skill, and it's really nice to see stuff like that. And it always looks good in a highlight reel.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to get on to a few negatives from last night, of which there were a few. I felt that Dallo was getting destroyed by Somerville. Likewise, Shaw with Jared Bowen. Shaw absolutely
Yeah.
sold himself about 50 yards from goal for West Ham's goal from Suchek, and
Mm,
then there was no left back to defend the cross, and then it was played across goal and easily tapped in by Suchek. Um, I, I know there's several players involved, but for me, it all starts with Shaw's mistake.
it does. I
Um,
mean, like,
and
he left the ball bounce. Like you're told that under tens, under nines, don't let the ball bounce, especially in your own half, and that's exactly what he done. And I mean, that's what started the move off and gave West Ham a bit of a foothold, a bit of momentum to build an attack. And oh man, it was a glaring mistake, and it cost us ultimately.
Yeah, massive. Because if he doesn't make that mistake, then West Ham don't score in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, I thought Dallow and Shaw struggled all night against West Ham's two most dangerous players, to be fair, and players that are in form, especially in the case of Somerville. Um, yeah, and I thought that Dallow's crossing going forward was really poor as well, but he wasn't the only one. I thought Ahmad was pretty shocking on the night too, and
Yeah,
Mbumo wasn't great. Kuna was absolutely anonymous and was deservedly substituted. So, like I say, it was the substitutes that won the game for United.
it was, and like you say,
I won the
Cunha
game,
just
through the game.
threw the game. Sorry, yeah, it
Yeah.
was a case of where maybe Cunha didn't have his busiest evening. I think he had to drop deep a lot, and that doesn't really suit him because you like to have him in space where he can drive at defences and show what his skill and shooting ability, but just didn't have that time or space to kind of showcase that. So maybe there was a case to take him off maybe 15, 20 minutes sooner, and bring on Seshko or someone like that. Ahmad as well was quiet. I think Ahmad is usually one of our biggest threats. He's got the pace to kind of run at defences and jink in and out and get crosses and shots in. But we didn't really see that. Bar the last 20 minutes, he kind of came into it a bit more. Him and Mbumo swap wings. Maybe there was a shout to kind of swap wings a little bit sooner because I don't think Mbumo's best position is off the left. He's far more suited to wide right or else in kind of as a number nine even. That's where you'll get the best of Brian Mbumo. For me, left wing doesn't suit him. He's kind of restricted to crossing with his stronger foot from that side. So yeah, possibly I think the subs might have come on a little bit sooner, maybe after 60 minutes or so. And when they did come on, they kind of did up the ante and they changed the game for us. And like you say, Seshko really kind of got about it and got involved and eventually got his goal, which was nice to see. And he's on a nice little run now as well. I think is it 5 goals he's got under since Amarim was sacked.
Yep, he only got two under Amram, and he's had five since Amram was sacked. Yeah, so and even though he's not starting games, he just seems to be scoring goals and scoring important goals for United. So long may it continue. It looks for all the world now that he's going to get into double figures at least this season, which
Mm-hmm.
is pretty good going for his first season in the Premier League, and especially with us having so little games as well.
Yeah,
And so little room for rotation. But to me, I think he has to start now. Uh, like
yeah,
we didn't play well last night, and it's been an unchanged team for a while because we're winning. I think last night was coming because I thought we weren't good in the second half against Fulham. Certainly the last 30 minutes of normal time, I don't think we were good against Fulham. And I thought we were pretty
yeah,
flat against the 10 men of Tottenham. So when we're coming up a team like West Ham, who had won 4 of the last 5 games, and even the game that they lost, they were 2-0 up at Stamford Bridge. A team in form, a player in form in Somerville, and a class player like Jared Bowen. I thought this has got the ingredients of a United slip up, and that's what happened. Um, so I can't remember the point that I was trying to make there, but yeah, I thought last night would be a difficult match against a team fighting for their lives, a team in form, and United just weren't at the races. A Carrick, it's the first time the Carrick's come up against a low block with 11 men, as I've said, and they struggled to break them down. And I thought that I'm no expert really, and I thought that uh, at half time I was thinking, let's get Sesko on and get Xerxes on as well, get balls into the box, and I'll present a different problem for West Ham. And that's exactly what happened. Like the last two crosses we had into the middle, Xerxes nearly scored and Sesko did. So if we'd got them on earlier, we might have won the game. I know there was a breakaway, wasn't there, right at the end involving Ahmad, and he kind of messed it up. I thought we were going
Yeah.
at that point. I thought we were going to get a winner.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but it wasn't to be. But yeah, it was a different test for Carrick. Across his two spells as manager of United, he's largely been against the traditional big teams. Um, this was very, very different. The team near the bottom that are going to sit deep, and United were far too narrow, and they couldn't break them down. And even when the ball was played into wide areas, United players were turning back. Shaw wasn't making many overlapping runs, and even when he did, he wouldn't cross it early. And then
Yeah.
Ahmad wasn't taking people on as much as he used to, and even when he did, his crossing was terrible. Um, and one thing sprung to mind, after about 60 minutes last night, is that we were missing Patrick Dorgu, a man who was in form and a man who provides width on that left hand side. It's Kuna isn't a natural uh, left winger, so I think selling all those left wingers like Rashford and Garnacho, his left is really short in that area. Now they were back to a traditional formation, and Dorgu is probably our only left wing option, and he's injured, so we're really short in that area at the moment. Especially as Luke Shaw looks like a man who's, I don't want to say done, but he's certainly getting there, and he's lost a yard of pace, and he's reluctant to make overlapping runs now.
Mm.
So we're now that we're limited on the left hand side with no Dorgu, it kind of makes us a bit predictable, and that's what I'm a wee bit worried about going forward.
Yeah. I think it's something we just have to hunker down and deal with now this season, and try and come up with ways of getting through. But in the summer, I think you're going to have to look at bringing in a left winger. Now there's been links with your man, the guy from Ivory Coast. Is it Yan Diomande or something? Um, he looks like a good player, really pacey. But I reckon he'd be fairly expensive. So you're going to have to look at other options as well, and try and get someone in with a bit of pace and a bit of something about them, that can go straight in and kind of plug in and play really. So that's one for the summer, definitely. For now, I think you're going to have to come up with ways of trying to get through. I think Cunha is probably the best option just to stick out there, but like that, he likes to come central. And what you get really then is Bruno going out there and Ahmed going out there, and it's kind of a more fluid situation where players are kind of taking turns almost to play on the left. I've even heard links or rumours in the last week of Rashford coming back in the summer, but for me that'd be a backward step, and I think he's burned his not burned his bridges, but I think his time at United is done. And it'd be best for both parties to kind of move on from that situation. He seems happy at Barcelona, so hopefully Barcelona can stump up enough cash to make that move permanent. But yeah, we're really missing Patrick Dorgu. I think it's shown in the last couple of games where we're lacking that bit of pace down the left side. So it's really unfortunate that he picked up that hamstring injury for such a long time. So hopefully we do see him back before the end of the season, and maybe get him a few games. But yeah, I don't know what the best solution is for left wing, Kyle, for the rest of the season. What do you think? Probably Cunha to start out there as the starter at the moment.
Yeah, possibly, or Ahmad maybe on that side and Mambumo on the right.
Yeah.
Um, I think Ahmad's probably more adaptable to playing on the left than Mambumo. I don't think Mambumo was
Mhm.
suited to that at all. Um, yeah, Shea Lacey, even his strongest position is on the right too.
Mm.
But let's see, maybe give him an opportunity out there. I think he's picked up a knock, and that's why we're not seeing him on the bench in the last couple of games. Even though he scored that hat trick in against, can't remember, was it West Brom or someone?
Mm. And he got
In
sent off as well. He got a red card the other evening as well. Oh no, sorry, no, that was it JJ Gabriel that got the red card, I think. And the club are going to try and appeal that, apparently.
right. Mhm. Yeah, because I thought it couldn't be Shea because he's not in the squad because he's picked up a knock. So
That's right, he's
um,
out for a while. I thought maybe Carrick had kind of kept him out of the squad because of the Brighton game where he got sent off, and maybe he was trying to keep his feet on the ground and learn a lesson a little bit. But yeah, so he's got a knock. You're saying. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how long that takes, and hopefully we can get him back because I'd like to see him reintegrated into the squad. Because he's definitely got a lot about him. No, he's probably more suited to that right side, but maybe give him a game on the left and see what he can do. It'd be worth a shot.
yeah, because of course, as because he's a young player, he'd be more than willing to play anywhere the manager asks him to. So um, yeah, there's lots of makeshift options, but no out and out left winger, and we're just waiting on Dorgu to come back. Really, um,
Yeah,
you definitely make the argument for sending a left back as well in the summer.
I think so. Yeah, I think we're okay for a right back because you've got Dallo and you've got Mazraoui, and I think maybe let both of them fight it out for the right back spot. And if it was down to me personally, I'd definitely look to bring in a left back because you can't rely on Luke Shaw. We've seen that now. He frustrated the life out of me last night. He was just so slow to take a throw in. He was trotting up, and I was like, grab the ball, take it quickly. But it took at least a good 10, 15 seconds before he took any set piece. Um, just really slow and lethargic looking. But maybe he's feeling the effects of fatigue because it was the second game in 4 days. So maybe cut him a little bit of slack that way. But for me, he's definitely not the future. I think we've seen the best of Luke Shaw.
He's cumbersome. I think that's the word.
Yeah.
And he'll be 31 in July, and he's been at the club since he was 18. So
Mm.
you know, not many players last uh, 12, 13 years at the club, and that's what he's done. So I think he's coming towards the end of his United career, and I wouldn't want to be relying on him now. Now we're playing a back four. I don't think he has the engine to play a left back anymore. There's a reason why Amram was playing him as centre back and would never play him at wing back because he just doesn't have the legs to play that role. So yeah, I know there's been a lot of chat about signing multiple midfielders in the summer, but I think the left back is an area we need to strengthen as well.
Left
we,
back
we
and
do
left wing now, yeah.
yeah, we do have Dorgu for left wing, and he can cover left back as well. But yeah, we're going to have to strengthen down that left hand side for sure. And yeah, if it was up to me, I would play Muzrahi at right back. And I would. There's an argument for bringing him in now. To me, he's a better defender than Dallo, and technically he's a good player as well. We've seen him play at number 10 for United, even though that was a bit bizarre. But yeah, I think he's a better all-round footballer than Dallo, and the only reason why he's not in the team is because he was away at AFCON and United won 4 games in a row with Dallo in the side. But I think eventually Mazrahi will become the first choice right back. What do you think, Jerry?
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. You just go back to the Fulham game there and remember that pass to Bruno Fernandes that actually set up the eventual winner for Sesko. It was actually Mazraoui that played that pass first time. And I was thinking if that was Dallo, that ball probably doesn't get played, or he probably takes a touch and plays it long or whatever. But it was just a lovely, crisp, low pass along the floor, and it allowed Bruno to turn and create a chance for himself and for Seshko. But it just shows the difference in technical ability. I think Mazraoui, he's been at Bayern Munich and he came through at Ajax, so he's just a fantastic technical player. Um, and it's kind of it goes. It says a lot when he can slot in and play centre back as well. Now, mind you, he played a lot as a back part of a back three as a right centre back, but I'm sure he could slot in and play a little bit at in a back two or a back four as well if needs be. Um, he's just so composed on the ball. Remember his debut against Fulham going back 18 months ago, August 2024. I think he came in at left back. Was it? Did he play left back that night, or he might have played right back? I can't remember, but he was just so composed and he was really, really good and almost like an 8 out of 10 every week. So it'd be nice to see him get a run in the side. And I think now is probably the right time because you've got a 2 week break until the Everton game, so you can kind of reset. And it might be a case of where Carrick was waiting for Dallo to have a bad performance, which he kind of did last night. So it's probably time now to bring Mazraoui in.
Yeah, he can slot in left back as well. He done so for Bayern Munich on many occasions. He's very much a utility man. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, I referenced it there earlier that he played number 10 against Fenerbahce away under Ten Hag. Do you remember? Nobody seen that coming. But
Yeah,
you know,
jeez.
he had a hand in the goal. He had a hand in the goal that Christian Eriksen scored that night. He was involved in setting up that goal from that position. And do you remember he cracked the crossbar away in Bilbao in the semi-final last season,
Yeah.
from distance? Yeah,
Oh, that
so
was
he's
great. That was a great strike. Yeah, he was unlucky with that. Has he scored? I don't think he's scored yet for United.
no, I can't remember an occasion where he scored. Has he had a goal ruled out? Maybe. I think he's come close.
Maybe someone can tell us in the comments if Mazraoui has
Yeah,
scored a goal. I can't remember any goal yet, but hopefully one is coming now this season.
yeah, and he's a real tenacious player as well. Really full blooded in the tackle, and he works his socks off. And
Yeah,
he's an
sorry.
asset at
Yeah,
both
he
ends of
really is.
the pitch.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying he's an asset at both ends of the pitch.
Yeah, definitely. And I've been a little bit disappointed not to see more of him over the last few games because, in fairness to Dallo, he's been in good form. He's had a few good performances strung together, but I like Mazraoui, and I think he's definitely a player for the here and now. So we might as well make the most of his time at the club.
Yeah, he's just a better player than Dallo, full stop. And I think we
Yeah.
should select our best 11.
Hmm.
So hopefully sooner rather than later. Um, so we will move into the player rating section. Um, I will give each player a rating, and then you let me know what you think, then, Jerry. So
Okay.
Lemaine's always at least a 7 in every game, and I think this was another 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. He was flawless again last night. So 7 is fair. He didn't really have a whole lot to do, and he had no chance with the goal either because it was from so close in. So yeah, 7 out of 10.
Um, as I said, Dallo wasn't very good up against Somerville and made a torrid night. And at the other end of the pitch, his crossing was wayward, to say the least. So it'd be a 5 for Dallo for me.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. You couldn't give him any more than a 5. Um, he was a little bit better in the first half, but the second half he really regressed and he was kind of back to the old Dallo that we saw under Amarim. So yeah, 5 out of 10.
Yeah, I think Maguire was solid last night. Um, you could look at both centre halves and say that they could have done better with the goal, but Luke Shaw certainly didn't help that situation. Um, but I don't think Maguire really did anything wrong. So I would give him a 6.
Yeah, 6 out of 10. There was one moment in the first half where he kind of body checked the West Ham attacker. Do you remember that one? I was thinking, God, this
Yeah,
might go to VAR for a potential penalty decision, but no, there wasn't much in it. And Harry was quite solid throughout. You usually nowadays you get really good, reliable performances from him. So hopefully his hamstring is okay and he doesn't spend the period on the sidelines.
yeah, because he's been injured enough already this season and missed large chunks.
Yeah,
Let's hope that he's available for the next match. But if not, Lenny Yarrow looks like he's got his confidence back, so he'll be a more than able deputy if it comes to it.
yeah,
So Martinez, obviously the highlight of the night was absolutely roasting Jared Bowen. But I think there was clearly a direction from Carrick to look to Martinez. to punch holes through the lines. He was on the ball quite a lot, and
Yeah,
he was always looking up. There just wasn't enough movement really, for him
no,
to pick players out. Um, can mark him down a bit for the goal because of course he could
yeah.
probably do better there. So I'd give him a 6.5.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Like you said, the one black mark on his copybook would be the goal, where I felt he should have gone across quicker. Um, Similar to what Yarrow did, he probably should have made his mind up and just go and attack the Jared Bowen, instead of waiting and holding back. So it allowed Bowen space and time to get into the penalty area and get his cross in. But other than that, he was good. He got on the ball a lot. He was almost like a playmaker from deep. But again, the space and time weren't there for him because West Ham just compacted everything and sat in a horrible Nuno-esque low block. That football that Nuno plays is really almost kryptonite to United. How many times did we see with the games
Forest.
against Forest and Wolves, even going further back in the day? It was just really horrible to play against, and last night was no different. Really hard to break down.
Yeah, there was one of those games last season when Alanga scored against us on the counter attack for Forest, and we lost
That's
that game
right.
1-0 as well.
Mm,
I think Harry Maguire came very, very close to scoring an equaliser in that game when he was played up front in the last 10 minutes, but it was cleared off the line.
yeah,
Um, Similar to what happened last night, Luke Shaw nearly scored in the first half, and Wan Bissaka, of all people, cleared it off the line.
yeah,
But I thought Luke Shaw was very poor overall, cumbersome,
yeah.
not delivering the early ball when he should, not making enough overlapping runs, and was at fault for the goal. So it'd probably be a 4 out of 10 for me, Jerry.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. Like I said, I thought he was by far the most frustrating player last night. Just really slow to make his mind up and slow to get forward and just not giving an option to overlap. Any good fullback should be constantly overlapping for their winger, and just wasn't happening. And like you said, big black mark against him for the goal. Letting the ball bounce in that area was just criminal. And then diving into a tackle. If you're going to commit to a tackle there, then you make sure to get that ball, whatever you can. And he didn't do it. It was just almost a lazy attempt at going in there, diving in, and letting the responsibility to the rest of the lads. Um, it might sound harsh on him, but 4 out of 10 is maximum.
Yeah, it wasn't good, and it was another reminder that Luke Shaw is not the future. We need to sign someone in that area as a matter of urgency.
Yeah.
So Casemiro, I thought was solid throughout, and he was trying to create last night. He was trying to make things happen. He had the ball in the back of the net, of course, and it
Hmm.
was disallowed for offside, but it was very, very tight. He scored yet another header. Um, but he kind of knew, he didn't celebrate. He kind of knew what was coming. Um, but I thought he was. I thought he was solid last night and didn't do anything wrong and was trying to make things happen. Um, so I would give him a 7. What do you think?
Yeah, 7 out of 10 as well is fair. I thought he was good. Um, Tried to make things happen and broke up the play where he could as well. And I think it was Casemiro that started that attack for Ahmad at the end when Ahmad went through and probably should have done better. We could have won the game. Imagine that, scoring 2 stoppage time goals. It would have been unbelievable scenes. But no, Casemiro always a threat on set pieces, and it's a fantastic ball in by Mainu. And it's just a pity that VAR has to ruin in my opinion, a perfectly good goal.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, it's happened to us on a few occasions, even just in this spell under Carrick, and
Mm,
it's been happening to everybody. I saw it happen last night in the Newcastle Tottenham game as well. So it's just a huge frustration that needs dealt with this summer. Um, there's a comment that's just come in here saying that Luke Shaw isn't the future and neither is Dallo. Quite agree with that. Uh, if we want to be anywhere near the top, fullbacks are very important. Example, he's referencing the PSG fullbacks, um,
Yes,
from
absolutely.
the on the Madrid ones of the past, and the Liverpool ones of the past as well.
Yeah,
So yeah, uh, I'm happy enough with Mazrahi at right back, but yeah, I think we need to strengthen left back this summer. It's almost as important as midfield, in my opinion.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
so Kobe Menu wasn't his greatest game. Under Carrick, probably his weakest of the lot, but I thought he came into his own and towards the end of the game whenever the subs came on,
Yeah,
and he was playing nice wee triangles and 1-2s and trying to make things happen. As you said, um, he created an opportunity for us, and yeah, I would probably say a 6 because he kind of got better as the game went on, I suppose.
yeah, I think a 6 is fair enough as well. He kind of grew into it. And I love the way he's able to take the ball in midfield and be brave and try and get that ball forward. Um, Looking back now under Amarim, it was a cardinal sin really to have him out of the team for so long. He's just so comfortable in that midfield, and I always felt, having watched Cobby play against Everton on his debut back in 2023, that he could play in a deep role, almost as a kind of a deep line playmaker, taking the ball off the defence. So I don't know what Amarim was getting at really. I understood about the physicality where he felt he couldn't get around the pitch, but it was just weird really. And he almost had a lot of people brainwashed as well into agreeing with him. I think the club would have sanctioned a sale at one stage for around 40 million, I've heard. So that would have been a travesty if we lost him. So it wasn't his best night last night, but he grew into it and showed what he can do. So I think a 6 out of 10 is probably fair.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we didn't lose Menu during that Amarim period. It's good to see him being freed, as his brother had called for several weeks ago. um, Bruno Fernandes, not his best night either. He did play a wonderful cross in for Xerxes, which nearly resulted in a goal.
Yeah.
Um, so he was absolutely superb against Tottenham. That was an 8 out of 10 performance, but I would say last night was probably a 6.
Yes, it was a 6 out of 10 is fair. No, he still got on the ball and tried to make things happen, but I don't know if you noticed he was having to drop deep a lot of the time to get on that ball, and then again the issue of not having any space up ahead for the attackers to run into probably just hindered him. Um, so I think he tried his best to kind of unlock or pick the lock a little bit, but it wasn't his best night. So a 6 is fair. And we'll definitely see better from Bruno going forward. I've no doubt about that.
Yeah, 100%. He's on course to break assist records this season. Um, Brian Mbeumo, very disappointing. Playing on that false nine role again and drifting out wide, and yeah, he just didn't have any opportunities last night. And even the assist that he got, it was actually quite a poor cross, which
Mm.
Sesko made it look good. Um, so he's our main goal threat, but not the greatest night. And our entire front three last night were pretty poor. I have to say, Kuna as well was anonymous, and he would have been my pick to substitute as well, and probably would have done it much earlier. And Ahmad was very poor. Even his crossing was way off. It was going straight out of play on the other side of the pitch. Some of his crosses, and just wasn't taking his man on as often as you would expect him to. Um, yeah, disappointing from all three. I think Mambumo, Cunha, and Ahmad were all 5 out of 10s for me.
Yeah. Again, it just goes back to that Nuno low block. It was just so hard to get any space or any runs in behind. I think that's what Mbumo thrives on, is when he gets in behind and uses his pace and power to burst through, but it just wasn't happening, and he tended to drop deep or go out on the left wing most of the time to get on the ball. And the same could be said for Bruno and Cunha as well, dropping deep, and that's not where you want to see them. You want to see them up close to the edge of the box and getting into the penalty area. I think you could probably count on one hand the amount of times the three lads got into the penalty box last night. Um, so it's we're going to have to find a way, one way or another, of trying to counteracting those low blocks, because it's really been a kryptonite against us over the last ever since Fergie retired, really. Where we struggle to break down teams that come and defend against us, or that drop deep and sit deep all the time. Now Ahmad and Cunha kind of have that lovely one touch passing about them, and maybe you would have expected a little bit better from those two. But no, I'd agree with your ratings there. I think you couldn't give them any higher than a 6, really.
Yeah, I have to go to the substitutes. I I give ratings depending on whether they played long enough or not, but it doesn't even matter last night because they were so vital to United getting a point out of the game, all three of them.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't care how long they played; they had a big impact. Lenny Yarrow gets an 8 out of 10. He prevented two certain goals really for West Ham. Uh,
Mm.
Xerxes came very close to scoring. His link-up play was excellent. Um, and Sesko, of course, scored that wonderful goal. So Yarrow an 8, Xerxes a 7, and
Hmm.
Sesko an 8. Any disagreements there, Jerry?
No, no disagreements with that. No, I think Xerxes probably had the most minor role out of all of them. So rightly, he probably gets a mark less. But Seshko, definitely, you have to give him an 8 for the impact he had. I even referred to him as Ole Gunnar Seshko earlier today, because that's the second late stoppage time goal he's got now in the last couple of weeks, and he's making a little bit of a habit of coming off the bench and having an impact. So it's nice to see, and it's nice to have a presence to bring off the bench. And Yarrow, we spoke about him earlier in the show. Just a great impact, and I'm delighted for him because he went through a tough time under Amorim there with the back in November, December, where he lost his place. So it was so good to see him come in and make those game saving blocks. Yeah, so I'd agree with you there. 8 out of 10 for Seshko and Yarrow, and a 7 for Xerxes.
Yeah, I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but I remember having a conversation with Chris, who contributes to this show now and again, and it was half time in the Burnley game, and he said, I don't. He said to me that he doesn't think Shesko is up to it, and I said, I have to disagree with you there. I
Hmm.
think there's a player in there. He's not scoring enough goals at the moment, but there is a player in there. He does seem to have a good skill set, and I think he will come good. And of course, in the second half, he scored a double, and he's been pretty good ever since then. Um, so when he was still sitting on 2 goals for United, I still thought there was enough in there that told me he's got something about him. He's got quality, and he just needs time to develop, and he just needs to grow his confidence, and he will get there. And he's been superb in the last month or so. Not just the goals that he's got are actually been all of them have been exceptional quality as well. If you look at the second goal against Burnley, the cross from Dorgy, the way he opens his body up and then side
Hmm.
foots it into the corner. The finish against Fulham, um, takes a first touch to set himself up, and then he lashes it into the net. Goalkeeper absolutely no chance. And last night it was absolutely world class, is what it was. Um,
Hmm.
it was absolutely exquisite, and it was the only thing he could do from such a poor cross, and he just happened to just flick it into the net, and yeah, it was just incredible. Even Ali McCoist was full of praise for him, and he's a striker. So if he's praising a goal like that, then it really means something because I'm sure he scored a few worldies in his career. So he's not just scoring tap ins; he's scoring really quality finishes. Um, yeah, I've been hugely impressed with the goals that he has got. He's only got 7, but I think he's definitely on course, to finish the season on at least 12, maybe 15. And that would be a fantastic first season in the Premier League, and then hopefully next season he can build on that.
Definitely, yeah. I think when we signed him, just from the little bits and pieces I saw of him at RB Leipzig and previously at the other Red Bull club, just the attributes he has are just fantastic. He's got the height and he's got the pace and he's got a great skill set. He's good on the ball for such a big man, and I compared him to Zlatan Ibrahimovic when Zlatan was at Ajax. Um, just some of the flicks and touches he's got. I mean, fantastic. We've a hell of a player on our hands if we can develop him. And you can imagine if he bulks up a little bit and puts on maybe half a stone of muscle, he'd be a hell of a prospect. Imagine him a lot stronger than what he is now because he's very slim and almost wiry at the moment. So if he fills out a little bit and gets a little bit more of a nasty streak, I want to see him kind of roughing up defenders and roughing up centre backs and putting himself about more. I think he can be a little bit too nice at the moment. So maybe develop a little bit more devilment and a bit more of a nasty streak. And we'll see where he's at in another year's time. But I think when we did sign him, I was delighted because it looked like he was going to Newcastle for a while, didn't it? So I really didn't want to miss out on him there. Even though at the time I was an advocate for Ollie Watkins, I liked him at Villa and I wouldn't have minded us signing him. But no, Sesko is a great prospect and very young, so he's got loads of time to develop. And what a goal! What a goal last night! Is just one of the most deftest touches you'll ever see. World class finish.
And it will do wonders for his confidence. I'm sure he's absolutely floating on air at the moment and absolutely chomping at the bit to get a start in the next game, and I think he deserves that. So the difference between Amarim and Carrick is that I'm looking forward to games now, and I believe that United can get results, even if they don't play well like
Mm.
last night. I still believe United can get something from the game.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's going to be another tricky game against Everton. It's David Moyes. It's going to be a low block again, but
Mm.
potentially the substitutes have shown Carrick the way around that low block. So perhaps going with one of those two players from the start might be the way to go. And
Mm.
yeah, I think now is the time to make changes because probably our first really poor performance under Carrick. So I think he was waiting for a poor performance there in order to change the lineup. So I think we'll probably see that in the next game. And Mason Mount might be available for that game as well. So that's something else to consider, maybe even for the left hand side. What do you
Mm.
think, Jerry?
Yes, I'd agree with you. It'd be good to have Mount back. He'd be another option in midfield and maybe to play off that left hand side, like you said, because he does bring a lot of energy and he's a player I like, technically sound and doesn't score a lot or doesn't assist many, but he definitely kind of has an influence on the overall play. And I go back to that game against Wolves. He was immaculate at Molyneux there back in December. It's one of probably his best performance in a United shirt, and it really kind of illustrated what he brings to the party. So it'd be nice to have him back. Yeah, so Everton, we need to get revenge on them for that horror show at Old Trafford back in November. That was diabolical. So we know what to expect from a David Moyes team. They're going to sit deep and they're going to be physical and lots of long balls and set pieces. Um, so we need to counteract that. So, like you said, it's probably the right time to make one or two changes. Hopefully, Harry Maguire will be fit. But no, I'd have no issues dropping Yarrow in there as well because he showed last night that he's up to the task. Um, Maybe bring in Seshko from the start, possibly. Um, Midfield
Definitely.
is fine. I think I'd stick with the same midfield. Casemiro, Manu is doing well. Bruno has to start the course. I'd probably start in Bumo because he's been our biggest goal threat. Then you're looking at maybe Ahmad or Cunha to drop out if you're going to bring Seshko or Xerxes back in. Probably be Seshko. I'd be more content with having him start, just judging by the impact he has made and the goals he scored. So that'd be probably the one change I'd make. Maybe Seshko in, maybe Cunha or Ahmad to drop out. But if he does go with the same side, then I'd have no issues with that either because they'll be after having almost 2 weeks of a break. So I think we looked a little bit leggy last night at times, a bit fatigued. So a rest, 2 week rest is probably no harm.
Yeah, it's not great as a fan to go 13 days without a game.
Yeah,
We're going to have to try and watch some other sports to keep ourselves entertained, but it's good for the players, to get a bit of rest time and recharge the batteries a bit.
yeah.
Um,
We can watch the
but it's
Gaelic football like Nicky Butt, bit of Gaelic football.
yeah, yeah. Paul Scholes wasn't impressed with that idea. Well,
Yeah,
um, but yeah, obviously, people like us are well accustomed to watching Gaelic football and hurling.
yeah,
There's going to be plenty of that on over the next couple of weeks, so look forward
yeah,
to that. But yeah, it's going to be another tough test. David Moyes always makes it difficult for us. And yeah, and we're talking about Sesko's skill set. Do you remember against Chelsea, his flick on led to Sanchez getting sent off? So
hmm
that's the sort of thing that
yeah,
I was seeing from him as well. He has nice feet, but also he can win flick ons. And yeah, there is a bit of a Zlatan in him as well. Yeah, he's got there's a lot of variations to his game. And yeah, I always felt that the goals would come eventually, and now they've arrived. So yeah, I'm really pleased for him, because it's taken a while for him to get going on the scoreboard, but he's certainly flying at the moment, and I think he deserves a start. Absolutely. Um,
mm,
it's only right that he starts. I know we used to say that about Solskjaer. He would score a couple of goals from the bench, and then you'd think deserves to start the next game, and then he wouldn't. Ferguson liked to
yeah,
keep him in reserve, as he felt that he'd always be motivated when he comes on. I hope that for Sheshko's sake, that's not what Carragher's doing. Always keeping him motivated by leaving him on the bench. I think he should use him from the start, because I think against low blocks, I think he is like the way to counteract those low blocks. Just getting balls into the box, and you know, especially when Xerxes there as well. You get two big, tall strikers in the penalty area, and you're throwing the ball in. Uh, then it's going to cause havoc for the opposition team. So I think that's definitely the way to go when we're facing low blocks. What do you think?
yeah. I'd agree with you. Definitely, there's something to be said for playing more than one striker. Or even if you play with a 4-4-1-1 or something like that, and have Xerxes maybe slightly withdrawn, and have Fernandez maybe wide right, or he's what I like about Bruno playing right. Sometimes he can really whip in a fantastic cross from the right hand side. It's just his delivery from crosses and set pieces can be almost David Beckham esque at times. Just really accurate. And it nearly paid off last night with that ball into Xerxes, and it was so close, just the wrong side of the post. I mean, if that had gone in, you'd be lucky at winning the game. With Seshko's goal later. So yeah, it remains to be seen. But long term, we're going to have to come up with a solution. So why not try with two big men up top?
Yeah, because we've seen even under Amorim, when he in certain games where we're 1-0 down with 10 minutes to go, he would throw Maguire up top, and it caused absolute havoc for the opposition.
Mhm.
So I'm all for getting the big men on and getting the ball into the box. There's nothing wrong with that. People might see that as a bit old fashioned, old fashioned,
Yeah,
and not really great to watch. But I think there's a time and a place for it, and quite happy for United to try that in certain games. And if we're struggling to break Everton down, then that might be the way to go. But another thing I noticed about Everton is that they tend to get a lot of red cards. Another one last night, Jake O'Brien being sent off. Um,
yeah,
but if we are lucky enough for that to happen again against us, then I would have more faith in Carrick being able to take advantage of that. What I liked about Carrick, I know the substitutions were slow last night. I loved the way he took off a fullback and brought on a forward with
Yeah,
10 minutes to go. That is the type of substitution that Alex Ferguson would make when we're chasing the game. And I agree with that. Amram would never make that substitution. You know, if you're going to lose, you may as well just throw the kitchen sink at it, as you're going to lose anyway. You may as well lose 2-0 as you lose 1-0. You have to just, I think,
yeah,
you just go for it. Whereas Amram would always make like for like changes and never change the formation. I'm just,
yeah,
I'm just glad that period is over now because it was absolutely dire, wasn't it? I'm just
yeah.
glad that we're back to playing the United way.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. I go back to a game against Everton that I was in attendance there back in November, and of course Everton were down to 10 men for majority of the game, and you're thinking make an attacking sub, risk a little bit, but there was just nothing. I think he brought on a midfielder, might have brought on Mainu at one stage, but I mean, you really need to be throwing more bodies up front and putting Everton under pressure, but it just never materialised. And I was excited when we did go out and headhunt Amarim, but the reality was it was just a failed experiment, I suppose. And I know that might sound a little bit harsh, but just he never looked like a United manager, really. Just very rigid and too cautious. And we've seen with the likes of Mourinho and Van Gaal, cautious football does not work at Old Trafford. You need risk.
Yeah, you can't play three centre backs against 10 men. You're almost negating your man advantage by doing that. But I'm fully confident that if Everton get a man sent off in the reverse fixture, that Carrick will not do that. Um, I fully expect him to make an attacking sub and go for it. Against, I suppose he didn't have to do that against Tottenham because we were playing with a back four anyway, but and we're winning the game. We scored soon after the red card, so he didn't
Yeah.
have to take risks.
And we were playing
Um,
well as well. We were dominating possession and dominating the ball. So creating chances. I think it was probably just a matter of time before we scored. And fortunately, Bruno popped up with that second goal. Now, again, maybe he could have got Sesko on sooner, but we won the game against Tottenham that day, so it didn't really matter.
yeah, but I was so pleased to see him take off a fullback and bring on a forward because we haven't seen that substitution at United in forever. So
Yeah,
um, w- we'll definitely see more of that if we're losing games um, this season. And so they're kind fixtures coming up. Palace at home I think is coming up too. Um, I know we've got Villa at home, and I think that's a winnable game now because they're
yeah.
not in great form. I think we'll
Um,
overtake them.
And we should have beat them at Villa Park in December as well.
Yeah, I thought that was a good performance by United. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've got Liverpool at home. I think we're probably favourites to win that too. Um, Probably our most difficult game left is probably Chelsea away,
Mm,
and that could be a tricky enough fixture. Be happy with the draw in that match. Now, even
yeah.
Newcastle away, which on paper sounds like a difficult game, th- they're crap. I think United could go there and tear them apart because they lost at home to
Hopefully.
Brentford
Yeah.
just recently. They haven't impressed me at all. I think they're gettable. They're very open at the back, and I think United's attack can go and tear them apart. I think they're tailor made for us, under Carrick, because they're not going to sit in a low block. They're going to attack us, and they're
Mm,
going to give us plenty of opportunities. So that's the sort of game I'd actually, St James's is always traditionally a hard game for United, but I think that's another game that we could go there and win. To be honest,
yeah.
what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. That definitely makes a lot of sense. Because we're due a win up there as well. I think we've had some really poor results going back to even Eric Ten Hag's time. I remember a game where was it Bruno Guimaraes scored. There was another one a couple of years later. We lost 2-0 or something. Was it Anthony Gordon scored? And then last season we got hammered 4-1 or something under Amarim. So we're definitely due a win against Newcastle at St James's. I think the last time we won there, and you might correct me if I'm wrong, but it was under Ollie. when there was that lovely passing move between Van de Beek and Bruno finished it off. I think it might have been 2020, 21 maybe. So yeah, it could be tailor made for us to go up there and give them a beating. Remember under Ferguson, we used to have some cracking games at St James's Park where it'd be end-to-end football, both teams going for it. So it might be a little bit of that.
Yeah, probably my favourite trip to St James's was probably 2003, the 6-2. Scholes scored a
Yeah.
hat trick in that game.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, those were the days. Yeah, and
Yeah,
you might be right. I think it was under Ollie our last victory there, and Bruno got on the end of that sweeping
think
move
so.
involving Van der Beek and Juan Mata.
Yeah,
I know I think it was under Ranić. I think Cavani scored and in one each draw.
yes, yeah. That was a rare appearance for Cavani. He didn't play much under Ragnick because Ronaldo kind of monopolised that number 9 position, and Cavani didn't get a look in, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah, and there's been a few drubbings lately. Yeah, and even under Mourinho, I remember us losing there when Matty Longstaff scored the winner. Yeah, we've had some terrible results in that fixture. So yeah, I think
Mm.
we really owe them one, don't we?
Yeah, and we did well there under Ferguson. We used to routinely go up to St James's Park and win. So we need to get back to that. Maybe Newcastle fans thought they were kind of coming up in the world there for a couple of years, but I think this season they've been put firmly back to reality again.
Do you know what will be even better if Benjamin Sesko scores against them at St James's? They'll absolutely hate that.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Because they thought they had him. They thought they had him signed there for a while, but and then when we did sign him, the fans were saying, Newcastle fans were saying, "Oh, he's only gone to United for money." And the ironic part was that he would have been earning more money at Newcastle than what he would at
Yeah,
United. So absolutely deluded.
yeah, and every time they lose out in the transfer market, they blame PSR. Um,
Yeah.
they feel as if they're being screwed over with that rule. But you know, there could be. That's an. I was looking to mention that actually. Tonali's been linked with United, and if Newcastle are out of Europe this season, there could potentially be a fire sale at St James's. Is Tonali a player that you would welcome at Old Trafford, Jerry?
Yes. No, he wasn't a player on my radar because I thought there's no way that he'd be sold by Newcastle, but he's a Champions League a Champions League profile player. So if Newcastle are finishing down in the bottom half, then he's going to want to leave the club. So if there's a chance that we can get him, then yes. Now, I do think we should probably stick to the plan and try and get Elliot Anderson as priority. I still like Carlos Baleba as well, despite his poor season. He's probably fallen off a little bit, and you've got Adam Morton as well. So they'd be my main three. But if there's even an inkling that we can get Tonali, then yeah, I'd definitely be up for that. He's a top player, as long as he stays out of the bookies.
um, yeah, Wharton and Anderson, we're going to have competition for those players from City and Liverpool and the like. So
Yeah,
it's anybody's guess where they decide to go. So Tonali certainly gives us another option there if necessary. And don't rule out Jimmy Garner. He's playing superbly well for Everton, and there's been calls in certain sections for him to be in the England squad. So that could
he's
be
done well. Yeah,
another option for United. We definitely need to bulk up the midfield. I mean, Casemiro and Ugarte are going to leave. We're going to be in Europe next season probably, so we're going to need to probably going to need to sign more midfielders than we're letting go. Because we're very thin on the ground as it is in that department, and we're going to be playing a three probably. So I think we're going to need to sign possibly three midfielders in the summer, to be honest. So
yeah.
Garner could be needed to bulk up the squad.
Hmm.
So let's see what develops. But we shall leave it there for today. Please, everybody, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the podcast, and get more of your comments in. And I shall see you again next time, Jerry. It's been a pleasure as always.
Great to be on again, Kyle. Thanks. Hopefully next time I'm on, it'll be talking about a victory. Um, we can get back to winning ways under Michael Carrick.
Yeah, let's hope so. And there's also a new feature on YouTube now called the hype button. If everybody could please hit that for me and obviously hype up the channel, and that'll certainly get us out there to more United fans. So I'll see you later then, Jerry.
All right, Kyle, talk to you later.